Okay, let's put it all back together now. First step is to put your touchpad back in. Sometimes it's kind of confusing to be able to tell which way it goes in, but the two holes have to be on top. So don't put it in this way, put it in this way. And then the motherboard. Put the speaker through the slot. Okay, now before you put the motherboard all the way back in, there's this rubber part to deal with here. So it goes in like this, and over that. It's kind of tricky getting it in there in just the right way. Got to be careful. And then you push it in. Goes like that. Okay, looks like the board's in there all the way now. Alright. Just double checking everything, make sure it looks good. Okay. Now, we're going to put our LCD screen back into place. I just use my finger here to guide it in to the slot and then close the flap. And then I just use a pair of pliers, and be very gentle when you're using pliers on these cables. Pliers are not exactly the best way to do it. It's just the way that I like to do it. But you have to be careful not to bend anything. Now, as you're putting it back together, it's best to do checks along the way to make sure that you've connected everything up correctly. So what I do is, I happen to have a power cable here. Okay, so you can see that the screen is obviously working, so I connected it up correctly. If you don't have a power cable, you're kind of out of luck as far as testing it along every step of the way, because the USB doesn't have enough power to power on the screen. Okay, now let's push the screen into the 4th slot, and it's in there really nice. Now we're going to put our black frame back on, and don't forget this little piece here that goes on top of the touchpad. You gotta put it on there, and then the touchpad cover. Okay, now we're ready for the frame here. Okay, looks like it's on there real good. And now we're going to put our 4 screws back in so that the black frame doesn't go anywhere. If this is your first time to do this, it's probably going to be a little frustrating. You might run into a few bumps and snags along the way. I've done hundreds of them, so that's why I'm kind of whipping through this video. Okay, the next one, plus there's a file size limit and a time limit on these videos that I cannot exceed. You put that in there and you'll hear a pop once you place the compact flash plastic component back in. Then we screw the screws on there. Okay. And then we're going to put the hard drive back in. And the metal hard drive protector. And place our screws. Okay, now the hard part's all over with. You're going to want to put, there it is, this component back on now. The technique I just used there is the easiest way to get that on. Otherwise you'll be fighting with it. You heard the nice snapping noises, and those are actually good. And when you put the back cover on, you want to double check and look at the plus and minus buttons. This is a common thing that happens to me, is that it doesn't quite go in there right. So then you got to take your back cover off again. And reseat your volume up-down buttons, and then try it again. Place the back cover back on there. Double check, okay, this time it's correctly aligned. Alright, and then it's just a matter of putting these screws back in. Notice how I use my fingers to guide the direction of the screwdriver to align it correctly. It's a good technique. Okay, the last two screws, here and here. And there we have it. Reassembly.